All right, we got a lot to talk about here. I want to kind of paint the picture for the weekend ahead here. We're getting closer and closer, and the significant weather or winter weather event does appear to be certainly plausible, if not likely, for much of central Alabama. So, what we know at this point, 4 to 5 days out, we're here in the middle of the week. We have a high confidence that we're going to see some sort of wintry precip event, right? That's going to encompass most of central and northern Alabama. Snow, sleet, freezing rain, ice accumulation is certainly all a possibility. What we don't know, what we're still working out, is the precipitation type, which will be dispersed evenly, and how much will we see of it as we head into the weekend. So, there are a couple things we're going to watch very closely here moving forward. This is a look at the latest probability outlooks from the National Weather Service of different impact levels. Okay, so when you're looking at the high impact level, that's where you're talking about the most significant potential ice and snow, roadways shut down, power outages, the like, should that ice and snow verify. Again, this is still an outlook. We're a ways out, so do not jump to crazy conclusions, but I do think the potential threats are increasing, and they're certainly dipping further to the south now, including much of the Birmingham market, extending south into the northern Montgomery TV market there. So lower impacts have even been extended down to southern Alabama, including parts of the Wiregrass. Again, a lot of this is going to be very much conditional on what sort of setup we have. So I want to get to it. I like to analyze these things with these longer videos. It gives an opportunity to really dive into what we're looking at. So I want to start with our surface temperatures, okay? This is very, very important, okay? As a kid, you're taught that, the temperature has to be freezing or colder to have snow. It's so-so. The surface temperature doesn't really matter for snow. We're looking at the temperature aloft, but there is some importance to that surface temperature with respect to freezing rain. This is Saturday morning at 6 o'clock, essentially the window opening of our potential winter weather event. I've depicted the freezing line here, okay? So everywhere, theoretically, north of this line, where we're at or below freezing, could see the accumulation of freezing rain. That's precipitation that falls as liquid and freezes on contact because the ground is indeed frozen. So watch what happens as we go throughout the day. You're going to see what's known as a warm nose, okay? We're going to have west to southwesterly winds, so some relatively warmer air is going to push in through the early part of the afternoon. That puts places like Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Anniston above the freezing mark. It keeps the northern quarter of Alabama, Jasper, Gadsden, Cullman, Hamilton, points north towards the Shoals in the Tennessee Valley, below that freezing threshold, which is a critical line because that's going to allow accumulation to continue in those areas despite what the precipitation is, whether it's sleet, it's freezing rain, it's snow. It's going to adhere, it's going to freeze and accumulate. So the question is, how far south does this freezing line last? Does it dip all the way down into Shelby County, into Talladega County, into Tuscaloosa County? Or do we see a wedge of warmer air gradually throughout the night into Sunday? This would be a big saving grace here if we could get those temperatures to stay above freezing for any amount of time. Again, a very critical value when talking about the precipitation type. On the flip side, now I want to talk about our temperatures aloft. Remember, from the surface to the base of the cloud, there's a column of atmosphere that precip is going to fall through, and that is going to also determine what comes down. So if you have freezing conditions at the cloud base where the precipitation is formed, where you're having that condensing into be it snow, rain, ice, if you're freezing there, it falls to the atmosphere. Now you need your temperatures to be at freezing all the way down the column, or you're going to have a melt. So snowflake starts, oh hey, this temperature profile is 38, 39, 40 degrees in the mid-levels. There's going to be a slow melt as that descends toward the surface. So you can see there, this is the 32-degree line. I'll get rid of those so they're not distracting. And then I've got like the legend there, all right? For snow to fall from the cloud to the surface, you want the entire atmospheric profile to be at or below freezing. That is what we're seeing here in the pink. So as we go through the day on Saturday, again, same time window. Look at Huntsville. Look at the northernmost counties, northern fringe of central Alabama. This is telling me that temperatures at 4,000 to 5,000 feet aloft, essentially where that snow, that whatever precipit's going to fall through, is at or below freezing and conducive to letting snow fall to the surface. This is a good scenario for that area, given the fact that snow is better than ice. So what does this tell me about central Alabama? Well, guess what? This warm nose that you see coming in here is not good. Why? Because anything that starts as snow in the clouds is going to fall through this warm column, and as it does, it's going to melt. So now you've got liquid precip, right? Well, at the surface, we're talking about temperatures flirting with 32. If they're at or below freezing, contact with the surface, ice accumulation. So this is not the setup you want to see for winter weather, because it does certainly provide the potential for that extreme, I shouldn't say extreme, for that likelihood of ice accumulation. So mid-level temperatures, very critical for this, and that'll be something that we watch, the entire atmospheric profile with temperatures. So now, with all that understood, let's go to our modeling data here, okay? This is same timestamp, Saturday morning. Now we'll push this forward. Where you're seeing the pinks, that's that mixed precipitation. Now, mixed does not just mean ice, does not mean just sleet. It is a little of everything. Cold rain, snowflakes, wet snow in this case, sleet, you know, that rain that comes down and adheres to the surface. Again, we're going to have to watch temperature profiles all the way through, but the mix is where you're most likely to have the icing scenario. And notice, remember where I showed you that warmer wedge of air? This is picking up on that a little bit. Notice where you have this void in that mixed precip, okay? This is a warm front actually pushing north. This could be an absolutely huge save for this general area here, okay? Because if that warm air can shift into place, if that warm air can be advected north, that is going to limit in some spots the potential for an ice accumulation. Again, I want to stress, 4 to 5 days out, there's still a lot of details to be worked through, but this has been a consistent data that I have seen for the last 2 days, last 48 hours. Let's go now to Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Now look at the warm nose all the way up into parts of central, northern Alabama. Once again, you've got rain come down on a surface that's above freezing. That could help mitigate the ice. Again, all of this subject to change, of course, as we know. And then by Sunday afternoon and evening, a final push. Now this model is now drawing this out much, much later. Again, timing, something that will resolve itself. Saturday appears to be the focal point of the event, with the potential of this carrying into Sunday. So once again, the snow probability for this is what you would want, is ideally snow to fall. Because, you know, even though winter weather in itself is not the greatest thing for the South to deal with, snow is much more, it's less of an impact than ice certainly would be. So you can see the highest probabilities of an inch or greater of snow is going to be up in extreme northern Alabama. And this is what I'm worried about here, is the potential ice accumulation. And again, you're going to get the ice accumulation where that liquid rain comes in contact with the surface. And this is going to be an area to watch along US 278, where you have those temperatures at 32. And you also have that critical temperature aloft that's going to be above freezing. So the further south you get, in fact, you know, you get south of Sylacauga, Tuscaloosa, we may not have much of an impact at all. It's going to be a tight gradient between impacts and non-impacts with this event. So plenty to look at. Once again, what we know, what we don't know. You know, we have a high confidence in this winter weather event. The exact placement, the specific, you know, I'll even throw the specific timing in there, because this is oscillated. So, you know, once this system initiates and develops, we'll have a better knowledge of it. Then we can time it out better once that core low forms and this develops with the jet stream. So that's a look at it again here moving forward. Again, this is your midweek update. We will know more by Wednesday night, Thursday, certainly by Friday. So you know, stay tuned. And again, we'll tweak this as necessary. By no means is this the answer key. It's just a starting point here for what could potentially be a high impact forecast.